What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over something that I get pretty much on every single live stream anytime that I talk about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and that is Fighters Pass characters. What are the characters that are most likely to show up? How many seasons of the Fighters Pass are we going to get? Who's going to be from where? How's Nintendo going to do this from this? It's just been crazy, especially with Joker Mania going on right now, with Joker set to be revealed pretty soon here on the Nintendo Switch when it comes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So let's first start off with the basic questions that I usually get here, and then we'll go into the most likely characters for the Fighters Pass. So is Nintendo going to do a Season 2 or Season 3 of the Fighters Pass? It's definitely possible, but I think people who are already asking this question are getting ahead of themselves. We still have a lot of the regular characters to go over with this Fighters Pass, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But the basic answer is, yeah, Nintendo could do it if they want to, if Sakurai wants to, but I do feel that we could get some characters outside of the Fighters Pass, just like Piranha Plant. That was not part of the Fighters Pass, but he was a character that was downloadable content. I think we can get a character or two like that as well, more over than like another Fighters Pass or something like that. So let's go ahead and get into the most likely characters for the Fighters Pass. And we all know about Joker. Obviously he's coming soon. That's going to be fantastic. Persona, people are anticipating that Persona is going to come to Nintendo Switch as well, based on all the different smoke that we've seen and the rumors that have been out there for a while now at this point. But I think that the next likely character that we could see, which there's been some rumors with this as well, is Erdrick, or a Dragon Quest character. Let's just go by franchises. So Dragon Quest, this is a franchise that Nintendo and Square Enix have been putting a lot of emphasis when it comes to Nintendo platforms over the past decade or so. You can go all the way back to Dragon Quest X on the Nintendo Wii. I remember they brought that as streaming to the 3DS. They brought it to the Wii U. They brought it to the Switch, Japan only. I mean, they've had it on so many different platforms with Nintendo branding on there. And even if you look at stuff recently, right, like Dragon Quest Builders 1, Dragon Quest Builders 2, both being published by Nintendo here in the West, exclusive content. And then on top of that, you have Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, which is published by Nintendo here in the West. And you're going to get a bunch of extra content that's not in the PlayStation 4 and the PC versions of the game. There's stuff like Dragon Quest Monsters and Dragon Quest Joker. Stuff like that is exclusive to Nintendo platforms in the past as well. So Nintendo has always teamed up with Square Enix when it comes to Dragon Quest. And I think that with all this publishing that Nintendo is doing for Dragon Quest titles here in the West, even with Dragon Quest Builders 2, that game being published by Square Enix here in the West, but Nintendo's picking up publishing rights for the game. That's just interesting. It's interesting, and at the same time, I think that this could lead to a Dragon Quest character being in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We all know the popularity of Dragon Quest in Japan, and adding a character from that franchise will definitely boost up Fighters Pass sales in addition to the game itself. So that's my first pick, not necessarily in any order, but just chances or likelihood of it being in there. Definitely a Dragon Quest character. Now let's move on to the next thing here, and that is Monster Hunter. So before Monster Hunter World came out on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo and Capcom had a really strong relationship with Monster Hunter on Nintendo platforms. Now, even if you look at it, still to this point, Monster Hunter Double Cross or Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, that did come out on the Nintendo Switch and did very well on the system. Capcom was happy with that. But before then, we had Monster Hunters on the Nintendo 3DS that did extremely well. We had Monster Hunter on the Wii U as well, Monster Hunter on the Wii, which was exclusive at the time. So there's been a number of exclusive Monster Hunter titles for Nintendo platforms over the years. So I personally feel that there could be a Monster Hunter character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as part of the Fighters Pass. Once again, the franchise has gotten much bigger because of Monster Hunter World, and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, while it didn't do as much as Monster Hunter World, it still did very well on the Nintendo Switch. A lot of people really picked it up and liked it, especially if you're more into the core Monster Hunter games, because Monster Hunter World seems like it's more for like the expanded audience when it comes to Monster Hunter, whereas Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is kind of like the, oh my gosh, look at all these different monsters here, look at all these different techniques and everything that you can do to content in there is a lot more. So I do feel that Capcom and Nintendo could have worked out some type of deal for just like a generic Monster Hunter in there, and he has a variety of different weapons that he can use to take out foes in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing if Monster Hunter gets in there, but I think that that's definitely a possibility. Now, moving on to the next thing here, and the next franchise, which is interesting because somebody brought this up on one of my PE lives. I forgot who, but shout out to everybody who did, and that is Yokai Watch. Yokai Watch is another franchise, once again, long history with Nintendo, exclusivity. Still to this day, we still haven't gotten another mainline or normal Yokai Watch game on any platform outside of Nintendo. I'm not sure what they've done in Japan with some smartphone stuff or other things like that, but for the most part, anytime that you see a Yokai Watch game, it's on a Nintendo platform. And even here in the West, Nintendo has been publishing Yokai Watch games for a while now. I mean, they got Yokai Watch 2 out, they got the Yokai Watch Busters, Yokai Watch 3 recently came out. So I think that with this partnership they've been doing with Yokai Watch, that they've been building up over the past, I would say, what, 7-8 years, however long Yokai Watch has been around. I think it was 2013 when it first debuted, or 2012 in Japan, something like that. Yokai Watch has become a huge franchise. Also, you have Yokai Watch 4, which is exclusive to Nintendo Switch. So I personally feel that the main character from that game, I think his name is Keita or Nate Adams or Nathan Adams here in the West. I personally think that he could be in there, and he could be a lot of fun to use with all the different yokai powers that he does have. So he kind of fits in naturally with the Super Smash Bros. Aesthetic already. And once again, they already have a bunch of exclusive Yokai Watch games on Nintendo platforms, with the 4th one coming out this year in Japan. Imagine a Fighter's Pass reveal with Yokai Watch 4 on the Nintendo Switch. That is going to be an explosion of sales when it comes to it. And on top of that, there's been a lot of US or Western based gamers out there that are looking at Yokai Watch 4 and saying, okay, finally off of the portable, now we get it on our hybrid device where I can play in HD graphics and everything. So I think Yokai Watch 4, when it eventually does come over to the West, will be the most successful Yokai Watch game ever released in the West in terms of raw sales numbers. So I think that Keita or Nate Adams, he could definitely make it in, or a Yokai Watch character, something like that. Maybe even a yokai could get in, but I think there's something, right? There could be something from that franchise on the Nintendo Switch when it comes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, moving on to the last thing here, and this one I'm not as confident about, but at the same time, you gotta have to follow a little bit of the smoke there, and that is Devil May Cry. This is a franchise that has never appeared on a Nintendo system, and that is very unfortunate that it hasn't, but I do think that that could change in the future. But the Capcom developers have teased this just a little bit, right? With Dante being in Smash. Remember, I made a video where he's kind of like saying, hey, please beg, you know, Capcom to put Devil May Cry in there so Dante can get in for Smash. But I think that maybe they're kind of like hinting, or maybe they're just kind of playing coy around the topic of us getting like the Devil May Cry trilogy, or even Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition on the Nintendo Switch at some point, and having a reveal for Dante in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at some point. I don't know when it'll be. Maybe it'll be 2020 when the last character comes out or something, but they did this with Joker from Persona 5, right? Nobody would have expected that because we hadn't seen any real mainline Persona games on Nintendo platforms. I think even at that time, there was Persona Q2, but there was no Western release date or anything like that. And Nintendo advertised it. If you look at anything that they've talked about, it's Persona 5. It's not Persona Q2. It's not Joker from Persona Q2. It's Joker from Persona 5, which makes me to believe that Persona 5 could be coming over to Nintendo Switch on top of everything that we already discussed. But this could be the same thing with a Dante from Devil May Cry, where they kind of just say, hey, Dante from Devil May Cry is coming in the Fighter's Pass at some point in the future, and then we start getting more of the information that Devil May Cry could be coming over to Nintendo Switch. So it'd be interesting to see if any of this even happens, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to get at least 1 or 2 characters from those 4 franchises that I just mentioned. So out of these 4 franchises, Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, Yokai Watch, and Devil May Cry, I'm confident that at least 2 of them could happen in the Fighter's Pass. With Nintendo revealing Joker from Persona, I mean, look at these franchises overall, guys. You have Persona, Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, and also Yokai Watch. That's 5 of the biggest Japanese IPs out there. And I know that there's bigger ones out there, but we've already got Final Fantasy, we got a Street Fighter character, And that's kind of where all of this kind of harkens back to be honest. These huge reveals of characters that you would never expect. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Nintendo 3DS. Cloud coming into the fray. Also, characters, heck, it even dates before that, right? Like Snake and Brawl. But even with that, they like to go big when it comes to surprises with third-party characters from Japanese franchises. And that's the reason why I think all of these franchises here have a chance at getting a character in the game. Real quick though, guys, a lot of you guys are probably saying, well, what about the Western characters? That's something that I've been asked about. But unfortunately, Sakurai doesn't like to travel too much over to the West for certain things. So I don't see him traveling over and talking to all the big brass and the Western developers to try to get one of those characters in. Now, it is possible that something gets in, like a Steve from Minecraft maybe, or I don't know. It is possible. I can't say that it's 100% not possible, but I just feel that Sakurai would just rather talk to people in Japan and to the characters in Japan there, because that's just where he's at. He doesn't really feel like traveling much over to America when he's got plenty of work to do. So those are my thoughts on the most likely Fighters Pass characters. And once again, guys, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be characters outside of that. I do feel that like a Gen 8 Pokemon could come as just outside DLC like Piranha Plant or something like that. So that doesn't mean that all of it's banking on this, but these are my picks because this gets asked of me all the time. So there you go. So what do you guys think about my list here when it comes to the most likely Fighters Pass characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.